people are attracted to the Desert Southwest. If you think of the Desert Southwest, how many other places in the world have this?
Monument Valley is one of my favorite places. I've been coming down here over the last 10 years a number of times, many times, and just enjoy the red rock and the blue sky.
I was born here, right out among the monuments, and I grew up among the monuments.
People come here, their first time visit, they're probably impressed just with the expanses of the Desert Southwest. When people visit here, usually one of the first questions they get is, why does it look like this? One of the big keys of producing these kind of monuments around this area is you kind of need three important factors. You need deposition of all this sand. You need a soft layer below. You need a hard layer above to cap that. And about 60, 70 million years ago, you start experiencing here an uplift. And as that starts to occur, those nice flat horizontal layers of sediment are getting stressed. And you're probably getting these vertical fracture lines in that sediment. Even though we're in a desert, water is the key element that creates all of these monuments here. The water starts flowing into those fracture lines and those cracks, starts eating those away. And eventually what you end up with are these isolated monuments throughout the valley and all over in the Desert Southwest. In our human time, we see very little change. Geologic time, we see a dramatic change. In the human experience here, we're only talking maybe about 13,000 years ago, when humans really appear in this region. The Puebloan people really seem to be the ancestors of this region, and they left behind a lot of evidence. You know, you can find, if you're hiking out here, you can find remnants of pottery, you can find some ruins occasionally. And in this region, the Puebloan culture lasts from about 700 AD to about 1300. And then, for lots of possible reasons, the indigenous people of this region leave here. One of the very interesting things that attracts people to the Desert Southwest is the rock art that prehistoric people created, and Navajos today still do rock imagery on some of the walls. Monument Valley is certainly known for the Navajo people who live here.
Salmonskide, Franzuski. Kid, Adoi Datomulki.
This land in Monument Valley is Navajo land, so we're visitors here. And we should certainly remember that when we come visit Monument Valley.
Our ancestors, like my father, my mother, my grandparents, they taught us that the monuments and the mesas, they're like sacred to our culture. Today, the kids are relearning their language, the Navajo language, plus they're relearning things like weaving. We lost it for a while, but it came back where I guess we came to the point where we thought that it was diminishing among our culture. So now some of the older ladies, they're here at school teaching the children how to weave, do the basket weave and pottery and stuff like that. So I think that the kids are kind of, they're going back to their culture, what they're supposed to be learning.
That's it. It's very important to keep your tradition, and especially in weaving. I teach my kids how to weave. Even her, she knows how to weave, and those little boys, they know how to make bows and arrows and those stuff, traditional things. I enjoy growing up here, and even as a child, I don't think anybody wants to leave Monument Valley when they were born here and growing up here. It's a home to all of us.
It was quite exciting when we used to come to the trading posts. My dad would bring us, and as I remember that time, the soda pop were 15 cents and the candy were like 5 cents each. That's what I remember about that. It was something like a big treat to us, even one candy, one pop.
And in those days, a lot of people don't realize, but there was really no money involved in trading. It was all barter. The Navajos didn't have any security, and the traders had a vault. And the Navajos would bring in their jewelry and pawn it. And usually the pawn was for food, for groceries, and items like that.
The Gouldings were quite nice. We used to trade with them a lot. It was usually my grandfather that did a lot of trading with them, so did my mom.
Harry was a stockman, and he worked for a company out of Farmington, and he was assigned to come in this area and purchase sheep. This sheep was quite unusual. It was called the Charro, and it was a direct descendant of the breed that came from Spain. Well, Polly came out here. He came to Monument Valley and just thought it was just a beautiful place. And he had just married his young bride. Her name was Iona, but he couldn't spell it, so he called her Mike. They came out and set up a little trading post out here. It was actually a tent trading post, and they started trading with the local Navajos here. When the Gouldings got out here and started trading, there was always a general distrust between the Navajos and the traders.
Well, they finally, I don't know if I told you, but the 5 of them rode in one day, and they called Harry out, so he went out, and they said, "How long are you going to stay here?" And Harry said, "Well, you see how white that tent is?" He said, "When my hair is as white as that, I'll leave if I want to." And they all laughed, and it turned out to be a joke, you know. After that, we were just all friends.
What did they call Harry? What was his nickname?
Dependez,
What's that?
long shoe,
What did they call you?
but son,
What's that?
I was his wife.
Why?
Or else they called me Shimoyezi, like a lot of them do. Yeah.
Little mother,
Yeah.
mother. Great Depression hit, and many of the mercantiles that supplied the traders out here on the reservation literally went belly up. There just wasn't any cash out here. The reservation was hit very, very hard, just like every other part of the United States was. Harry heard that John Ford was looking for a place, for a location to shoot a movie. Harry and Mike had about $60, and they decided to go out to Hollywood and see if they could get a hold of John Ford. Well, Harry was informed that Mr. Ford was very, very busy, and he wouldn't have a chance to probably see him. So Harry informed the secretary that he brought his bedroll and he'd be glad to wait until Mr. Ford had time to see him. Well, Harry had brought some pictures along of Monument Valley, and when Mr. Ford saw them, he got quite impressed. He actually gave Harry an advance and set up for their first movie called Stagecoach with a new young actor by the name of John Wayne.
Billy Yellow was my father. He did some acting work for John Ford. He started like in the 50s, and he's been acting as an extra. He used to say that he used to love acting because some of the action part was with the horses, and he used to love riding horses, so that was a natural thing for him. He only knew a few words in English, but yet the communication between John Ford and him were like, he would just point, and then, you know, he would say action or something like that, and he knew what was going on at that time. Harry Goulding was, he knew how to translate between the Navajos and the people that are making the movie, so he did a lot of that interpreting. I remember when I was small, he used to come out to our house, you know, if there's another movie that has, that they're going to develop again, he would be out there gathering the Navajos, the men that ride horses, or the women, you know, and he would be out there, and among that they would choose my father, my grandfather, and even my great-grandfather was in Fort Apache, so he was in it too.
Harry and Mike had traded out here for about 40 years, and they were wanting to retire. And to sell a place out here on the reservation was very, very hard. So Harry had met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Umbright, who was the president of Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. And Mr. Umbright made him a proposal that they could take and get a lifetime annuity if they gave Gouldings to the college. And the college made that offer, and Harry and